literally there was no one outside your family that you could talk to for fear that that might lead to repercussions. Your teachers, your classmates and friends, that's a terrible seeming way to be, you know, coming of age in America. But then something did happen which allowed you to at least overcome that one first barrier, perhaps, to you know, towards being accepted and having access to all the things Americans have, right? And that was when, of all people, Rick Perry signed a bill that allowed undocumented immigrants access to the same privileges of state college as, you know, natives or documented citizens. So what happened then? You had been applying to schools and not accepted because you didn't have a social security number, right? So what changed?
Yeah. So I was applying to college, and I would even the schools that I applied to that I thought were like my safety schools, I would get back like the little envelope, and the little envelope usually meant, "We regret to inform you that you haven't been accepted." And I couldn't wrap my head around that because I thought, you know, I did okay on my SATs, not great, but okay, because I never even knew what the SAT was until I went to go take it, being a first generation college student. But my GPA was really high, and I had great recommendations, and so I couldn't understand until it finally dawned on me that I had been leaving the Social Security blank. So this lack of a 9-digit number was preventing me from pursuing my dreams and from taking that next step in this American dream that my parents had taught me to chase. And then in July of 2001, in June of 2001 actually, Texas became the first state in the US to allow undocumented students to go to college, pay in-state tuition, and receive state financial aid, which is mind-blowing to me to think about now with what's going on in Texas, and Texas being the state that brought forth the lawsuit that prevented DAPA from being implemented. So to me, like, I have this like love-hate relationship with my home state of Texas because it gave me so much opportunity, and now I see that same state preventing people from having those opportunities. And every year there is a growing coalition of people who want to repeal that House bill that allowed me to go to college. But for me, that was like a lifeline. That like you said, it allowed me to take that next step and to go to college and to pursue that higher education that then opened up so many doors of opportunity that I wouldn't have had I not had that college degree.
And once you actually were accepted, now to be clear, it didn't end the secrecy, it didn't end the fact that you had to hide your identity or your provenance, if you will, but you got an education and you worked really hard to get that education. It wasn't, even though you had, you know, access, it was not like a red carpet by any means, right?
Yeah, I was actually placed into the international students orientation. So when I went to UT, because it was the first year, they didn't quite know how to handle types of students like me. Like, we weren't technically like legal residents of Texas, but I also didn't feel international, right? Like I did not. I had been living in the U.S. at that point for 7 or 8 years, and I felt like a Texan. I felt like an American. So going to this international student orientation was a little strange. But even though I had in-state tuition, it still was more than my family could afford. And so I would, every weekend, I would take a Greyhound bus and go to San Antonio and sell funnel cakes. And then on Sunday nights, I would take the cash I made and get back on the Greyhound bus and then go back to Austin to go to my 8 a.m. chemistry class my freshman year. And so that's what I had to do. And my parents at that point had moved back to Mexico because my mom had this terrible accident, and she needed a lot of health care that we couldn't provide for her here. So they moved back, and I stayed here by myself pretty much, and took over the funnel cake stand. So it was a lot of hard work. All of my studies, all of my homework, my projects, everything I had to do Monday through Thursday, because on Fridays I was off to sell funnel cakes to be able to pay for school because I still didn't have access to financial aid. I didn't have access to any types of scholarships, which, fast forward now is why I started the Ascend Educational Fund.
And we will definitely talk about the things you're doing now, because when we were talking in the green room, the fact that you are now dedicating your adult life to kind of coming back and addressing the things that you faced as a child, that's a story I think that we hear a lot from immigrants in a broader sense and undocumented immigrants who are in this conversation right now.